wonderful God. In all his ways, keeps on keeping us. In spite of how we keep ourselves. Amen. God is a miraculous God that doesn't keep tabs on how we don't treat him the way we should. Amen. But because of his grace and his mercy, he extended it to us day by day. And I don't know about you, but I'm grateful for his grace and his mercy.
Yes, Lord. Hallelujah. Yes.
We won't be long before you this morning. Let's go quickly to James, the 4th chapter. James, the 4th chapter. James, the 4th chapter. We're going to start at verse number 1. And I'll be reading out the New Living Translation this morning. But we'll come from James, the 4th chapter. Starting at verse number 1, and I'll be reading out of the New Living Translation. And it reads as follows. Verse number 1. What is causing the quarrels and the fights among you? Don't they come from the evil desires at war within you? You want what you want, so that you want what you don't have, so you scheme and kill to get it. You are jealous of what others have, but you can't get it, so you fight and wage war to take it away from them. Yet you don't have what you want because you don't ask God for it. And even when you ask, you don't get it because your motives are all wrong. You want only what you give or what will give you pleasure. You adulterers, don't you realize that friendship with the world makes you an enemy of God? I say it again. If you want to be a friend of the world, you make yourself an enemy of God. Do you think the scriptures have no meaning? They say that God is passionate, that the spirit he has placed within us should be faithful to him. And he gives grace generously, as the scriptures say. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So humble yourselves before God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you.
Amen.
Do you think the scriptures have no meaning? They say that God is passionate, that the spirit he has placed within us should be faithful to him. And he gives grace generously. As the scriptures say, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So humble yourselves before God and resist the devil, and he will flee from you. This war that is being waged, this battle that is amongst us, could only be summed up, if I had to hang a tag on this particular text, as simply being us.
That's right. That's right.
Just call it us. Look at your neighbor and tell him you're talking about you.
Talking about you.
Us. You may be seated in the presence of our Lord. There was a movie that was released this past Friday entitled Us. It is a movie that is about a paranormal anomaly that occurs in which what we think cannot exist actually does exist. In this alternate, what we would call universe, there is this parallel way of living that individuals have a twin that mirrors them exactly. And oftentimes, the way this film is constructed is that these lines were blurred that gave a window into this alternate reality that became reality for this family of four. They were standing face to face with individuals that looked like them, that acted like them, and ultimately was them. So the director, Jordan Peele, entitled the movie Us, because when they were at a point where they had to face these individuals, they realized what they were now in battle against for their lives was not against something from the outside, but it was something that looked just like them. Oftentimes we misplace our anger, we misplace our confusion, we project our angst against individuals and people and things that can really take the weight of the excuse off of ourselves, because we have learned that if we can find someone or something else to place the blame upon, then we don't have to stomach or deal with the reality that we have fallen. In the text, we discovered that James, who is the half-brother of Jesus, has penned a text to help us through some of these difficult moments that we may encounter in our lives. Amen. You discover in the first couple of verses that he poses a question. That's right. That he wants us to really look not outwardly, but he wants us to look inwardly. He says, what is causing the quarrels and the fighting among you? So he's putting it as not as so much as you just dealing with it with yourselves, but everybody who's around you. And he poses the question because he needs them to take a look not at what they see, but what they feel on the inside. He says, don't they come from the evil desires at war within you? So now he's making it a point to say that it's not what's on the outside that's giving you the problem. But what's giving you the problem is what's on the inside. That's right. So as we look at this text, we have to determine from the text that we must look at the things as they occur in our lives separately and not so much outwardly, but look at an analogy of how we can deal with what we encounter on a regular basis, but not so much outside, but what happens on the inside. So the first thing we must do is we must know what we are at war against. We must define what we are at war against. It's easy for us to place a tag of enemy on things around us. It's easy for us to say it's family. It's easy for us to look at our friends and say it's you. It's easy for us to look at our co-workers and say it's you. It's easy for us to look at the world and say it's you. But it's not easy for us to look in the mirror and say that it is us.
Right.
Why is that so difficult? It's difficult because once you place the onus on the individual, then they have to accept the responsibility for their actions and take accountability for the things that transpires from that point forward. So here, in order for us to really get into a clear understanding of what we are facing, we must understand that it is our flesh and the war within us that is causing us the battle for our lives. The problem in giving us so much power and authority in our lives is that the Bible says in verse number 2, it says that you want what you don't have.
That's right. That's right. Amen.
You want what you don't have. So in order for you to get what you have, you got to scheme to get it.
Yeah.
You got to manipulate stuff. You got to do stuff that you don't think you want to do, but you know you want to do it because you want to get what you want.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like a child who desires to get something that they know they should not have. There was a video that I saw on the internet of this little toddler. He couldn't be no more than, he was less than 2. But the cookie jar was on top of the refrigerator. But somebody, somewhere, told this little boy how if he desired to get something, he can find something within himself to get it.
Wow.
Don't let what seems like as being so insurmountable that you can't reach it keep you from trying to get it.
Say it.
So he decided to use the cabinet as his stepping stone to get to where he was going. This little boy, I don't know where he got the strength. In his diaper, and he was not even potty trained. And he climbed
Amen.
using the cabinet that had no shelves that he could pull out and stand, but he pulled himself up, climbing on it, got on top of the refrigerator, sat on top of the refrigerator, got the cookie jar, got him a cookie out of the cookie jar, ate the cookie, then climbed down as if nothing else had happened.
Wow.
See, there is something about when you know you need to get somewhere, that you define or you desire something that is drawn from deep on the inside of you. That it may seem like too much for you to get there, but the intestinal fortitude that God has placed on the inside of you will get you to where you need to be, in spite of you may not have had the capabilities to get there, but you use what was on the inside of you to say, I can still reach it.
Amen.
Here, we need to get an understanding that this war that we are battling
That's right.
against ourselves is not something that you can take lightly.
Right.
It continues from the text where it says that we want what we can't have and we scheme and kill to get it. He goes on to say that you are jealous of others, but you can't get it, so you fight and wage war against them to take it. The problem is we've associated the wants and the desires of our hearts as being what God wants for us. And we have lost being connected to God so that we cannot align ourselves to God appropriately to get the things that He has designed and destined for us. Which is why He says that all you need to do is ask God, but you don't ask God because you cannot receive it because you are not aligned with His purpose for your life. In other words, stop asking for stuff you know you can't handle.
Okay.
All right.
Say it.
Come on now.
Amen. Say it.
No. Tall, dark, and handsome may not be what God needs for you.
Wow.
Maybe you just be short, chubby, and got a good paying job. Maybe that'll work for you.
Go ahead.
All right.
We want all this stuff. We want a 6-figure job. How about the 5-figure job that you can stay for the rest of your life that will establish you a good retirement that you can live comfortably?
Yes.
Yeah.
Say it. Amen.
How about being in a place where God can keep the peace of you in a place so that if you go to this place that causes you all kind of hell,
Yes. Say
well,
it.
you don't need the peace.
Say it, Pastor. Say
But
it.
that's where the crowd is.
That's right. Say it.
But every time you go there, you come back crying. You come back feeling sick. You come back feeling worthless. But you keep going back because the crowd is going. Sometimes you need to displace yourself from the crowd and learn how to get to yourself
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Say it.
and learn how to serve God completely.
Yes. Amen.
See, when we jealous of folks, how we deal with this is that when people around us get stuff that we want, we discredit how they got it. You know how we are. You know them folks who got status.
Amen.
The folks who have established integrity and credibility, and the first thing we do is we lie on them
Amen.
to tear down their character. So that they don't have the status that they have, because we want to say they got it by false pretenses. You know, the same way with people who are prosperous. We say they got it because they crooks. You know how we always want to erode somebody's blessings because we don't have them, because we feel that they got it by some other motives instead of serving God. See, you don't want to see how they stay on their face in the midnight hour. You don't see how they stay in their word. You don't see how they give when they didn't have anything. You don't see how they go and volunteer. But all you see is the results of their works, because you don't want to be where they're at. You just want what they have.
Yes. Amen.
James is the same one who said, be ye not just hearers of the word, but be ye doers of the word. Because you can't just hear the word and think that it's okay. You got to do something in order to activate the word that God has put on the inside of you.
Amen.
It ain't the world that's the problem.
That's right.
It's us.
That's right. Yes. Amen. Yes, Lord.
When we look at our black communities, yes, we have had some bad times, yes. There is systemic racism, but when you look at it, the problem is not the world, it's us.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
The reason you don't have a promotion on your job is not because they racist, it's not because they don't want to hire you. Maybe it's your attitude. Because what? It's us.
Yes.
You're not sick all the time because your doctor don't know what you got, or because Kaiser is just a bad hospital. Maybe if you ate better. Maybe if you exercise more than just walking to the mailbox and back.
Amen.
Maybe if you stop eating Popeye's chicken and them pork chops and them collard greens and that macaroni and cheese and potato salad, maybe you change your diet.
Amen.
But ultimately, it's not that. It's us.
Amen.
So we have to establish the fact that the things that we are warring against are not the things from the outside, but it's the things that are on the inside of us.
Yes.
Second, we must have clearly defined boundaries.
Amen.
Look at verse number 4. He says, you adulterers, don't you realize that friendship with the world makes you an enemy of God?
That's right.
I say it again. If you want to be a friend of the world, you make yourself an enemy to God.
That's right.
So look, people should not have to wonder what side you are on.
Amen.
People shouldn't have to wonder who you are serving at this time in your life. People shouldn't have to, or people shouldn't question whether or not you are born again or just again. Some people need to understand that there has been a change in your life, and that change in your life can be attributed to your God. They shouldn't attribute it to the fact that you got your settlement. They shouldn't attribute it to the fact that you got your promotion. They shouldn't attribute it to the fact that the doctor got your diagnosis right. No, they should attribute it to the fact there is a Most High God who looks high and down low at you and decided that what you needed was in His hands. They need to attribute it to the fact that God is gracious and merciful, and the reason that you got your healing is because He showed up when you called on Him and you needed Him, and He healed your body. The reason you got the promotion wasn't because of your reference on the earthly realm, but it was your reference in the heavenly realm. Because God said that when you shouldn't have got the promotion, He stamped it as being guaranteed, not because of them, but because of Him. We must clearly define the boundaries so that the world understands who we serve. Too many of us looking so much like the world that can't nobody tell if we for the world or against the world. You look just like them, act just like them, but then you say you're a Christian. Well, how do you suppose that occurs? When I see you walk with the crowd, I can't see you different from the crowd. But the Bible says that I have set you apart, which means that you can't be in the crowd and be and look just like the crowd. You got to be something different than the crowd. Even if you put on all the same clothes. Your attitude ought to pay homage to the fact that there is a God on the inner works on the inside of you. What separated the individuals in the movies, us, was that there was a group who wanted to live, and there was another group who wanted to kill those who were living, because they wanted to assume their reality, because they were tired of living in the background. Don't you know your flesh is trying to kill your spirit so that it can no longer reign over you, but it is trying to take over you so that it can be in the cockpit and do what it wants to do so it can satisfy the desires of its flesh? No, you got to learn how to let the spirit
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
have control in your life.
Amen.
He says in the text that if you are a friend to the world,
Yes.
that you are an enemy to God. There is no room, there ain't no wiggle room right there.
Amen.
There is not a space
That's right.
between that statement
That's right.
that you can even try to say,
Amen.
well, how are we supposed to get those in the world to serve God?
That's right.
Not by joining them,
Yeah.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
but by extending God to them.
Yes. Amen.
By living right, so that they can see how somebody who was in the world came out of the world and received the blessings of God with all things connected to God without having the ability to attribute anything to the world, so that they can know that somebody can do it.
Amen.
Amen.
He says, they say that God is a passionate God, that the spirit that he placed within us should be faithful to him.
Amen.
The King James Version says it a little differently. It says, whoever therefore wants to be a friend of God makes himself an enemy of God, because it wants to clearly give notice to the fact that if you give any credence to your sin,
Uh-huh.
that you have separated yourself from your God.
That's right.
Here becomes the issue, that we've grown so comfortable in us that we cannot tell the difference between us and our sin,
That's right.
that they have been merged together. And you cannot live a holy life with your sin being a part of it.
That's right.
That at some point you have to learn how to separate yourself from the very thing that keeps you from God. The Bible says
Yeah.
that God hates sin.
Uh-huh.
So if God hates sin and you can't be a friend to the world, then not only are you his enemy, but he has no love for you when you are in that context. So we have to learn how to remain a friend of God, that every time we do fall, that he will be able to separate us from the sin that is trying to get us back to the world, because the world wants us to be its own. So
Yeah.
we have to learn how to war against the right thing and not the wrong thing, and stop putting our anger at the people and start looking at ourselves and blame ourselves for why we are where we are at.
Come on.
It's not just because the enemy is trying to pry you out of the hands of God. But at some point, you have to know that your flesh is not your friend.
That's right.
And how do you recognize that? You recognize it by simply knowing that if it's anything that can separate you from God, then it's not of God. So if it's anything that keeps you from serving him on a regular basis, then there is a problem with you and that thing. Because anything that can keep you from God is not worth keeping. And what you have to understand is that what we do on Sundays is just a byproduct of what you should be doing Monday through Saturday.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this hour and a half, or the hour that we are in the presence of God on this day, is merely just to get you to a point where you serve him every day after that. And
Yeah.
the problem becomes is when this becomes an afterthought, and which means if this becomes an afterthought, then the rest of your week is an afterthought. Because if you can't give God a little bit of your time every day, then there becomes a problem, not just with your relationship with God, but what your relationship with yourself.
Yes.
Because who are you investing in if you're not investing in yourself?
Yeah.
If you are not investing in the one thing that can give you the protection that you need,
Yes.
then what good is you paying into the system? If you got access to insurance and it's reasonable for you to have it, why wouldn't you pay for it?
Yeah.
Is it those of us who work keep our insurance? You think for 1 minute if we could have our employer pay for our insurance, we would tell them, "No, forget it, I'm cool. I don't go to the doctor anyway." But no, you say, "No, it's cool because just in case."
That's
You
right.
never know what's going to happen. Yeah, you don't have to pay for dental, but you don't tell them, "Nah, I don't need no dental. I don't need vision. I'm cool. I'm 20/20 right now." But you don't know what's going to occur between now and later that's
Yeah.
going to cause you to need it. So why do we live our lives
Come on. Come on.
as if we don't need God's word? If we don't need God's presence?
Yes.
If we don't need God's spirit?
Yeah.
Why do we keep putting God as an afterthought, and then when trouble comes, we want him to come rescue us? Well, you ain't got no relationship with God in order for him to show up
Come on
quick and in
now.
a hurry.
Well.
You're going to have to get in line with the rest of the backsliders and try to get somebody else to come on your behalf and ask God to intercede, because you have severed your relationship with God. How would it have been if Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had not had a relationship with God? You had already seen that those who were standing on the outside of the furnace that had been turned up 10 times got burned up without going in. So you need to tell me, if they didn't have a relationship with God, that they would have made it on the inside of the furnace, that once they got in, they could call on God. The devil is a lie. You ain't got that much time to get your life right.
Come
So
on.
you need to put yourself in check and tell us to have a back seat, because your life depends on you getting in a relationship with God.
That's right. That's right.
You act like you got all the time in the day to sit back and call on God like he your partner from back home. No, that ain't how it worked. You know, back in the day, you couldn't even get to God because the priest had to go to God on
That's
your
right.
behalf. And now God has made it so much easier that he says that I have given you a comforter that dwells on the inside of you.
Yeah.
But even still, you still can't call on him. You still can't thank him. You still can't praise him. You still can't worship him. Because now you need a reason. But baby, the fact that you open up your eyes, the fact that he still allows you to walk, the fact that he still allows you to take a breath should be enough for you to give God some kind of thank you for what he's done for you.
Yes. Amen.
Yes. Thank you, Lord.
Not only must we know what we are at war against, and what we must have clearly defined boundaries.
Yes.
Lastly, we must recognize the power we wield in resisting the world. Verse number 7 says, "Therefore submit to God."
Yes.
Humble yourselves. Submit means to humble. Resist evil, and he will flee from you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Resist meaning to push away, turn from.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
that's right.
But we don't resist. We commune.
Amen. Amen. Say it.
Well,
Say it.
it's the truth.
David said that
anyhow.
he would prepare a table in the presence of your enemies.
Uh-huh.
But your enemies sitting at your table.
Come on.
They friends.
Yes, that's right.
Tell it.
Y'all partners.
Say it, guys.
Y'all vacation together.
Say it.
Y'all ride out together. Y'all go to work together.
Say it.
Y'all go grocery shopping together. Y'all go shopping for clothes together. You road dogs with your enemy. So your enemy don't have no respect for you. So when you tell your enemy to get out of your face, your enemy laugh and say, "What you gonna do if I don't?"
That's right. Say it.
Because it's not fearful of you. Why is it not fearful for you? Because you're not exercising the power within you to make the enemy flee.
Come on.
The only way the enemy flees is that you have already already submitted to God,
Yeah.
which means that you've given your spirit control. When you give the spirit control, you can speak with the power and the authority of
Yes.
God. And that's why the enemy flees, because he doesn't see you, he sees God. See,
Make it plain. Come
God
on.
gives the enemy a reason to turn and tuck tail and run.
Yeah.
But you by yourself, you ain't nothing to the enemy. You just something that he knows he can overtake if he just entices you. Oh, but when you allow the power and the presence of God to reign supreme in your life, every time you open up your mouth, Satan will flee. Every time you tell him to back off you, he will back off you. Every time you speak with the authority of God, everything that you have called in his name shall come to pass, because you have surrendered the authority to God and not yourself.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
Walk around here cupcaking with the enemy,
Yes.
spooning with the enemy, and you don't even know you spooning with him. No, yeah, you are. Because tell me, where is God in your life if you can't even utter a thank you when he wakes you up in the morning? Tell me, where is God in your life when you get into trouble? He ain't the first one you call. Tell me, how is God in your life when you got healed? You called your mama to thank her and didn't thank God. Tell me, where is God in your life?
Say it. Say it, Pastor.
Yes.
We have to learn how to allow the inner self
Yes.
Yeah.
to reign supreme,
Amen. Amen.
so that the power that is in us
Uh-huh.
is exercised to the fullest.
Yes.
The Bible, James, he continued, and he says in the very next verse, after verse number 7, he says, draw nigh
Yes, that's right.
to God,
Uh-huh.
and he will draw nigh to you.
Yes.
You can't get close to God moving away from him.
That's right.
You can't get God to come into your presence if you're not in a place where he can find you.
Amen.
Yes, God is sovereign. Yes, God is omnipresent.
Yes.
He has eyes on you at all times.
Amen.
But
Yes.
you have to make yourself available
Yes.
That's
Amen.
right.
to him in order for him to find you.
Yes.
You know, when we was little and we used to play hide and seek, and if you had a friend who could count to more than 30, you had enough time to hide. But you know, some of the friends couldn't count that high, and you just tell them, just count to 20, man, just count to 20. But anyway, you would find a hiding space. But before or after they finished counting, we used to add an extra added little thing. And we would yell, don't ask me where it came from. There's a bluebird on my shoulder. Can I kill it?
Oh, wow.
And they would say, no, which meant you couldn't go and try to find them. And you would yell it again. There's a bluebird on my shoulder. Can I kill it? No. You would say it again. There is a bluebird on my shoulder. Can I kill it? And then you would say, ready or not, here I come. See, y'all, we from the Bay Area. Y'all don't know how to make stuff fun. Y'all doing all that old stuff. Nah, we know how to make stuff turn up. That's how we do it. We killing bluebirds.
Murder.
Right, ready or not, here I come.
So if you weren't ready,
Yeah.
by all the additional time that has been given to you, then if you weren't hidden, if you weren't in a position where that you can hide from the one that's coming from you, then guess what? You were just toe up. Because you were given every opportunity
Yeah.
Wow.
to hide, but you didn't take the opportunity to get to where you needed to go.
Wow.
The Bible says that the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
Amen.
The one you should be hiding from is the thief.
Yes.
But the one who you should be allowed to find you is God.
Amen.
See, we've gotten so comfortable playing games with the enemy that we're hiding from God, and God is trying to find us.
Yes.
But we are so caught up into this cat and mouse game with the enemy because we can do this on Monday, do that on Wednesday, do this on Friday, then Saturday it's all good because I'm going to turn up like I used to, because the enemy has convinced you that you can hide in plain sight, but the one who you need to hide from is God, and you're listening to him tell you that it's okay.
Yeah.
God is not a God of games. He don't, and we don't have time for that.
Amen.
That's right.
Come from behind those hidden places.
Yes.
Come out of that sin. Come out of that sickness. Come out of those bad habits. Come out of that bad attitude so that God can find you.
Yes.
And when he finds you, don't be weary.
Amen.
Don't get it twisted. He's not going to harm you. He's going to say, come unto me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, because I will give you rest.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you.
See, shame will convince you to keep your pride
Amen.
and not let God take control.
That's right.
Shame keeps you from surrendering and submitting unto God.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all have sinned
Amen.
and fallen short of the glory of God.
Amen.
All of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
All of us are broken.
Yes. Say it. Yes.
All of us have fallen.
Yes.
All of us have failed.
Yes.
All of us have been defeated.
Amen.
Yeah.
Say it. Amen. Yes.
All of us have come short.
Yes. Speak the truth. Amen. Amen.
But not all of us have allowed that to hold us back.
That's right. Say it.
Not all of us have
Yes.
continued to make that excuse.
Amen. Say it.
Not all of us have
Yes.
given ourselves unto God.
Yes.
But what he is saying resoundingly in this season and at this time, submit unto me.
Yeah.
Resist the enemy, and he will flee.
Yes.
Then he says, draw near to me,
Uh-huh.
and I'll draw near to you.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, he's an awesome God. He's omnipresent.
Yes.
But notice, he won't draw near to you unless you draw near to him. Oh, he'll find you. He'll seek you out when you need him.
Yes.
But you still got to draw near, because the Bible says he stands at the door and knocks. But you still got to let him in.
That's right.
You got to let him in, even though it may separate you from the very thing that you thought you needed in your life at this moment. But then if it's God has to separate you, it's not what you need.
That's right.
Stop trying to hold on to those things that God didn't mean for you to hold on to.
Amen.
Some things in your life is for a season. And once it's been harvested, it dies. Whether it comes back again or blooms again, it's up to God. But don't waste your time waiting for it.
Yeah.
Because God says, look, what I have for you is for you. But you got to continue your course. You got to continue your progress. You got to continue to go down your assignment. Everyone resting on your feet if you can.